Hi guys, Frankie B here with another episode of Working with Power Tools, and some of you may know by now, Unreal 4 has been made free to the general public without any kind of subscription requirements. So you can download it, install the launcher, and have access to all the same goodies that we've had for, say, pretty close to the last year, as far as wanting to build maps for UrT-HD. And I'm going to be covering today is how we basically have our framework set up for that particular need, without having to worry about having to converge or consolidate whatever's being developed within the game actual. Now, as to observation, Unreal 4 is a top-down design tool which allows you to build things in a modular fashion, which then later on you can consolidate as part of the whole. So in this case, to establish a working connection between all the different types of let's say, developers that are part of the team, we're using the shooter example as the framework that allows for members of the team to work within a sandbox built up environment as to what will be consolidated later into the game actual as released on Steam. Now, this is I wouldn't say critical, but it is valuable information, as if you follow our pathway, then you'll be a lot more safer as far as having to worry about painting yourself into a corner and then later on having to spend a lot of amount of time, unnecessary time, to have to kind of fix things and shoehorn it into the engine. But in practical, as far as a practical application of your map, it won't really matter if it's designed for UrT-HD, if it's designed to run Unreal Tournament 4, you want to use it to build maps for WoW or Call of Duty or any other games, hopefully, that may be coming in the future, that will allow you to use your map that is made specifically for UrT-HD, do maybe a little bit of modification to fit the requirements of a different game, and then allow your map to work in that game too as well, with possibly no modifications at all, depending on how the game dynamics actually function. And of course, I'm kind of rambling on, but to get to the point, we're using the shooter framework to be able to make environments for the purpose of being able to have a character that can run around a map in three-dimensional space to test out various elements that one would generally run into as part of that process. So a good case in point is you run into a corner and there's a little hitch into that corner and you're kind of glued to it, or you find some sort of clipping that you don't want to take place. So in this case, this as a tool, the shooter is what we're looking at as far as being able to so let's say sandbox people and to be able to make a map such as Mykonos here without the need of actually having the game itself in hand and functionally. Okay, so just want to be clear on that. So the first starting point we will be looking at would be the world settings as far as how things sort of hitch together as to connectivity, and most cases this will be set up for you. Just a quick notation, you would want to start a new level. If you're starting scratch, new level. If we do a new level, we would do a default, and we don't save that, and we go ahead and boom, we're starting from scratch, and we can start putting stuff into this. And there's a fair amount of content already available in the shooter, but you can add stuff to it through the launcher. But we won't get too far down the pathway here. Okay, so let's go ahead and see if we can get back to Mykonos. There we go, right there. There's all the levels for the shooter, which you are free to use. Any samples that are made available through the launcher, you are totally 100% free to use for retasking and repurposing. So if you go, say for example, the matinee example with the fighters, the two guys duking it out, boom, 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 boom. Anything that's involved in there, you can migrate that out into your project and make use of it without any kind of copyrights and concerns like that. That's pretty cool, because you automatically, boom, you already have a big boatload of assets that are available to you. Anyways, back to the point in hand. In the case of testing the environment for a third-person, first-person perspective, as I said, we are using the on the shooter example. And as you can see, nothing's much, except we can kind of roll around with the camera, which is what you've been seeing more or less from day one. We really haven't been doing anything as far as in-map game testing. Now, in this case, since there is a game type in the shooter called Shooter Game Free-for-All, it is a module that allows us to connect to that game type. If we hit Shooter Game Free-for-All, now this could be anything. We're overriding the edit environment's game mode. So we could have another module that, for example, that has vehicles. So if we want to have vehicles in Urban Terror, that module is available for the practical testing purposes of driving around with some sort of buggy that you can test for hooking up. So we'll go ahead and hit play. Again. This time we get a first-person perspective as to gameplay. So if we kind of move around our map, looking for any kind of flaws or bugs or anything like that that might pop up that would normally occur within this kind of playing mode, instead of running around with the camera, which doesn't really tell you anything. So at this point, you can kind of look at here and say, well, I want to get rid of this gate here, so I can have players run in there, make the map a little bit bigger, pull this out a little bit more. Test out things like sound shapers. So in this case, I'm in an area that has a reverb. Kind of walk around. So I kind of test out sound effects, how things impact surfaces. Are we shooting at wall, concrete floor, is surface metal, that kind of thing. No more of this. Compile the map in GDK, and then it takes hours, and you get it into the game, and you find one little small bug, and then you got to go back and fix it and do the whole process again. Taking 3 days to fix a simple problem that should take 30 seconds. So you can kind of test out your file. Oh, let's see, for example, okay, what are we missing here? We're missing some kind of collision. So that kind of, right now, our player is hidden inside a big rock. Not good. Can we get over the wall? Yeah, we can jump over the wall. I'm thinking now, maybe I should take this fence out and allow some sort of back alleyway behind all this. I'm thinking that just because I can now run around, get a better idea. This is actually a rather smallish map. Maybe 4 or 6 players on the outside. So I can start looking at maybe pushing these buildings back a bit. Further into the back, adding more detail, get rid of this building, break it out, and so I can run behind it. Look at our 200 plus K statues, and we can see over the side there our frame rate, 0 drop in frame rate, so we can test for in-game performance. This, of course, changes once you start adding more people to the mix. But once again, this is where Shooter helps you out, because it is a fully functional game. So you can set up a test server, have your buddies kind of jump in onto the map to kind of test it for real-time network gameplay as to performance. So if we come back here again and we have like 6 players and we're all kind of shooting it out down around here in this area here, and we're still getting a sufficient the frame rate is actually sufficient to support that gameplay, then we don't really have to worry about a 200K and a model. And that goes back to iteration backwards type of progression, where obviously we don't want to use a 200K model, but we're not worried about it if we're going to go 10K kind of thing. 10K, ooh, that's a lot, but no, not really. So it gives you kind of that as a tool that is available to you under the Shooter example. So get it, learn it, and understand what it does and how you can make use of it. And to touch on one last little subject here, you have volumes, space volumes that can change how the behavior of the map behaves in a selected area, or in volume as to the complete map. So in this case, as a tool, what is important is adding, say, for example, a mesh bounds volume, and we can kind of just quickly expand that out, and you should see down in the bottom right hand corner it should start saying something like build navigation. Now what that does is it builds it plots a volume of space navigation information for this guy right down here. So if we drop him down there, that's a bot pawn, and if we just kind of drop into the map, boom. Ouch, I suck. To answer the question, yes, UrT-HD will have bots because it's already done. We do not have to. That as one last task that we have to contend with, as far as adding what would be considered an expected feature. Epic is so kind that they actually do the tool works for us as far as the part of this process. So it's just a matter of swapping out the bot pawn for, say, a Sarah pawn. Boom, done. Here's the behavior tree. That's pretty cool as far as the AI goes. So it's very simple. Everything is already in the engine, and you just more or less with a blueprint tells what kind of behavior you expect from it. This also opens up the opportunity for different kinds of bots. So you can have a Bob bot, you can have a Frankie V bot, you can have this bot, that bot, and the other bot. So all we would have to do then is make these available as part of the bot, as part of the main build, and as an entity, and you're ready to rock and roll to put bots into your own map if you wish. So that as well, it's a good way to be able to test locally the playability of the map. So I think that's enough as far as idea building goes. Where's your first stop? What's your portal, so to speak? What tools are available to you that you can have access to and get up and started quickly, and it doesn't cost you a penny.